Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. But first, thank you for subscribing to the channel and for all those likes. Today we have 5 great stories, so let's get right into them, shall we? The first story is called Not Enough Time Tracking. Around 10 years ago, I was working for an IT company that supported many small and medium-sized businesses in the area. Many of our customers paid a monthly fee for us to be available for phone-based support. We didn't bill for this time because it was included in their contracts. I was working salary and was way overworked because of bad management practices, frequently putting in 12 to 16-hour days. Management knew this. When I tried to explain to management that we needed more help because I was beyond burnt out, my manager stated that he couldn't justify the extra help. He said our numbers didn't show exactly how overworked we were. In fact, based on my ticket tracking, I was only putting in 7 to 8 hours a day. Is that so? From this point, I decided that every minute of my day would be tracked. Time could only be tracked in 5-minute increments. And we were told to track our time tracking time against our own company. 5 minutes on the phone with a customer, that got ticketed and entered into the system. But I spent 5 minutes dealing with the ticket system, so that also got tracked. Another call, 10 minutes. 5-minute ticket against us for time tracking. 20 minutes driving to our customer site, tracked against the customer, 5 minutes against us. I ended up frequently entering dozens of things per day. Everyone in the team started doing this. It was a small team of 3, but the tickets all added up quickly. What's important to note is that every time we submitted a ticket or a time entry, the boss also got an entry in the system that he had to go review and approve. If he had to read the tickets and approve them, it would have taken most of a day just to approve everything. And only after that he could go about his normal day. But he didn't do this daily. He frequently waited a few days or a week before approving stuff. This meant that by the time he went into the system, he had hundreds of things to approve. He came to complain about the sheer volume of tickets and that he'd spent his entire weekend in the crummy ticket system just approving everything. We pointed out that this was exactly what he'd asked for. He asked us to go back to the old way. And then we couldn't justify our need for more help. I left the company shortly afterward because I was tired of being paid a pittance for skilled labor. Within 3 months, the rest of the team had quit. The company was sold and that department no longer exists. But at this point, not my monkeys, not my circus. The next story is called Don't Want to Pay Overtime. This happened years ago. I worked at a UPS. It was run by a manager who was very quick in your orientation to let you know he was a former commander in Vietnam. And he ran this office just like he ran his troops. I was brought up to respect the military and didn't have any problems when I first heard this. The more time that went on, I felt sorry for the troops if he truly commanded any in Vietnam. In between when trucks needed to be unloaded, we would commonly just stand around and talk, twiddling our thumbs when we were supposed to be cleaning. He would hide, and behind closed doors, looking out small metal holes for hours at a time to try to catch us like this. I couldn't help but just see how pointless this had to be as a manager's time to sit sweating for hours so you could catch employees taking a break in between a truck after working hard for hours. The union covered all workers, whether you joined the union or not. I didn't join, but I still enjoyed the benefits of the union, which included overtime if you worked more than 4 hours in the day if you are part-time. There was also a set of rules, such as if there was an overnight package delivery that was missed and a driver had to drive it to the airport so the package would not be late, the manager had to pick one of the union employees to get that route. Due to the nature of them being part-time and normally just unloading boxes, it meant that they would be paid at a different driver rate overtime. So one trip could be a nice boost of pay from round trip to the airport. This manager didn't like that and would commonly take these trips himself when he was supposed to let another driver that was union take these trips. Most of our overtime would come from the people who knew how to drive with standards, because at that point you will automatically volunteer to stay late after your shift to park these trucks for the next shift. Cue malicious compliance. Anytime the manager stole these driving routes, everyone parking the trucks would go to turtle speed, and a job that would normally take 10 to 20 minutes would suddenly take about an hour. So once he was getting back, everyone would be finished up, as the trip to the airport and back took about an hour. One time he must have had a side errand or something come up. I never found out why, but instead of 1 hour, the trip took about 3 hours. I just remember 5 or 6 young guys and a couple of old guys walking around the slot, pretending to look at our paper that showed where our trucks were. This way we turned a 10-minute job into a 3-hour one. When he got back and saw us still in the lot, he just started screaming and everyone's trucks were parked within about 3 minutes and we got out of there. There wasn't much he could do to punish us, since he was breaking the rules and he already did everything he could to make our lives there as tough as possible. That was the easiest 3 hours of overtime pay of my life for sure, and my biggest team effort of malicious compliance. The third story is called Stick to the Schedule. About a year ago, I started a new job and specialized technical support for electronic devices. For most of these products and issues, we have a very extensive list and database of information from which follow procedures. One of these databases is specifically made for self-guided trainings and other informative things that we usually get assigned whenever needed. For these assigned trainings, you'd usually get a few more minutes than actually needed, but sometimes a lot more. For the last few of these trainings, I have followed the schedule, finished my training and went back to work. Usually this meant I had about half or more of the time assigned left over, meaning I could either knock some more work out or touch up some previous interactions. This was until a few weeks ago. A manager came to me and said, "I noticed you are skipping out of training times and use this time for other things. Usually I have time over. This allows me to do stuff regarding previous interactions and lets me work clean. No, this is not what the time is assigned for. Fill in the time on those trainings and stay on that status. Whatever you do, I don't want you to do different work on training hours." Alright, no work? Understood, loud and clear. Cue the malicious compliance. The next 2 weeks we get assigned more and more trainings for new launches, arising issues and more. Each day about 3 to 4 hours worth of trainings, give or take. These trainings are straightforward and if you use the right resources can be finished within 45 to 60 minutes if you read clearly and follow the right information. More time really is not needed, and if there's nothing to do anymore, well, I guess I won't do work as requested. Needless to say, I've been enjoying about 15 plus hours per week, freely doing chores in the house and other useful stuff during training time. At least I'm no longer doing work outside of the assigned hours. Bad me. The next story is called All Because of 1 Minute. I work in a lab that employs a lot of people nationwide. Kind of irrelevant, but whatever. We got a lot of cases from doctors and hospitals all across the country every day to run tests they order. Because of the sheer amount of cases we get daily, we have a lot of QC that needs to be done by the end of the week. And if it doesn't get done by Saturday night, we have to do a rotation every week to finish it. My actual supervisor said we have to stay 4 to 6 hours or until everything is done. There's this cynical old woman who works in my department. She's a massive pain and sends endless amounts of emails a day about fixing things that aren't broken, doing something wrong even though we follow her directions, all while she's doing none of her own work. She also happens to be the lead of our department, even though she never sees any of us because she's in the back office, not in the actual lab. She works the 3rd shift. Today is my rotation. It just so happens to be my birthday weekend. My birthday was Friday, and my coworker whom I'm doing the rotation with brought breakfast burritos for the 2 of us. Thankfully there wasn't a lot of work last week and there was minimal quality control to do. After we stayed for an hour and were 80% done with our work, we took a paid 15-minute break. 16 minutes later we come back into the lab and she starts yelling at us because we went over our time, and she leaves the lab and calls our manager, who basically said it doesn't matter since we are still getting the work done. The old woman comes back and says that we can't leave until the work is done, even though she'll be leaving in about an hour. Okay then. We finished all of our work about 10 minutes after we came back from break. But since we are still on the clock, we are deciding to stay for the entire 6 hours doing mindless work. Cleaning already sanitized stations, deleting emails, dusting keyboards, changing pens, etc. This will cost the company about $300 more because of overtime pay on our paychecks. All because we were 1 minute over. The last story is called We Don't Talk About It. This story took place in 2007, but still pays off, quite literally. I'm from Brazil, meaning different legislation. I worked as an IT assistant in the education area. It was a good job, excellent work hours and the team was great. The school was very small, owned and directed by a husband, wife and some other family members. My job was initially as an IT assistant, which means hardware and software stuff. But since there was no senior IT, I was the IT. Not really a problem, since the demands for me were basically editing documents and maintaining the website. This was 2003 and things were good. Fast forward 4 years. I'm still an IT assistant, but in charge of 2 interns, systems maintenance, IT security, user support and all the publicity. Again, all good, since I had the time to study and work in another place repairing hardware. One day, the owner's wife called me into her office. She was red as a tomato when I entered the room. She closed the door behind me and started screaming. "You are stealing from the school. Look at these reports from accounting. You are not billing these students. "You are stealing from my family." She gave me the reports and I murmured, "Okay, I'll have to look into that." She starts to scream again. "You don't even realize what I'm talking about. This is what happens when you don't pay attention to your work. Go on and get me some answers on how much you cost us." I say, "Okay, I have to look into that," and leave her office. With the report in hand, I started to calculate and found some inconsistencies. The process was very simple. I generated the invoices and the accounting director, her brother, had to authorize the batch to send to the bank. If the bank finds any inconsistencies, they return to the system and the director has to authorize or not. Sometimes we would edit the values for discount, calculation errors or typos, things like that. Since I didn't have access to this part of the system, I took the blame, since I couldn't explain how that happened. Life goes on. One day, months later, the computer got smiled at me. The accounting director asked me to help him. I'm getting this stupid red flag on this name. I don't know what it is. Solve it so I can confirm and send the invoices to the bank. Normally I click on the names and then click yes and the flags go away. But it's not working. I clicked and the message was, "Do you confirm cancelling this invoice?" I stared at him and asked, "You really click yes every month?" And he confirms. I explained that he should choose not to send the invoice back to me. He thanked me and I began my evil plan. You know, when you are the only IT from somewhere, 3 things the owner should keep in mind. The control of all the passwords, the control of the processes from IT, and the patience that IT requires. We are problem solvers on caffeine and hate. We don't sleep, we are fed by light. The plan was simple, make the business more and more automated and IT dependent, which on a normal business would be very good news, but it was not. Since no one knows at the school how important IT is, I made sure that all the processes were automated. For an entire year I busted hard, working on methods to put all the processes on autopilot. I created some cool bots, Python for the interested, to integrate the systems and almost no human interaction. In 2008 I ended the automatization process and quit. The school was kinda happy, functioning without an IT person, and for an entire year all was good. One day in 2009 I got a call from the other owner, the husband. "We are having a problem in the system, could you fix it?" You know, I hold grudges, and this was my time to glow. "Hey Mr. Owner, I can fix it. I will charge you $100, is it good for you?" "Yes, sure." After fixing what was wrong, I advised him, "You should hire an IT person or outsource the IT." He says okay. 1 month later I got another call. "There's another problem with the new printer, can you fix it?" "Yep, it's $200. He agreed to that as well. Since they didn't do anything about it, I offered a malicious contract to help the school for $1,000 a month and $150 extra for any visit. They agreed. Fast forward, it's 2021. They still don't have an IT department. They still pay me $2,000 a month plus $250 extra per visit, and the computer system works like a charm. The accounting director knows that I know what he did wrong in the past. They don't talk about it. The owner's wife knows that I know that her brother is a stupid accounting director, and if I open my mouth, he has to be fired. They don't talk about it. The owner tried to change the automation system, but the cost is prohibitive. The system that I made is free for them to use, but if they want a manual, there's a cost, since I was an IT assistant, not a programmer. The manual is in the program font. To know this, they have to contract an IT person, which they won't. We don't talk about it. Now I have a contract, I don't do practically anything, and they are obligated to pay me, since they don't have the knowledge and are afraid of me. If they want to change anything, I'll have to look into that. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great day. Stay safe, bye bye.